You know I call it a witch hunt. And it is a witch hunt.
Modern-day witches are hard to categorize.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
Are you a witch?
I'm a practicing witch. That's how I make my living, yes.
And which kind of witch are you?
I'm initiated into Wicca, which is the religious side of things.
Witches tend to side with liberals, and you know what they wish President Trump would stop saying about the Mueller investigation?
It's a witch hunt. That's all it is. The witch hunt, as I call it. Russian witch hunt. This is a witch hunt like nobody's ever seen before.
I learned today that witchcraft had become mainstream in America and has Trump in its sights. But this is hardly a revelation for today. This has been going on for at least a few years, hasn't it? As Vox.com reported back in October last year, each month thousands of witches cast spells against Donald Trump. How the witches of the hashtag magic resistance rise up against the Trump administration. Oh, I'm sure they do. On a typical Wednesday, by the light of the waning moon, Kate Doucette joined several thousand strangers on the internet in casting a spell to bind Donald Trump. Well, if there's one way of making me think that magic is real, it's that it can be done via the internet. Doucette, which is her married name, not her legal name. She's one of the resistance witches, at least a 13,000 strong umbrella group of internet neo-pagans. Wiccans, solo practitioners who identify as hedge witches, okay, long-time magical practitioners in various traditions, and committed activists. So annoying, fanciful, pretentious, bourgeois leftists who think that their identification, their self-identification as witches is enough for Vox.com to unironically treat them as if they are actual witches. The spell, a variant on a traditional binding spell found in many contemporary neo-pagan and other occult practices. Yeah, carry on, Vox. This is all sounding very convincing and not total bullshit at all. Involves channeling energy to limit Trump's power. Oh, I'm sure that's going to work. I'm sure that's going to be just cast iron. I mean, now that you've bought into the idea that there is such a thing as a spell and this is a binding one, then it's undoubtedly going to work. I mean, I don't know why they didn't just call down lightning from the sky. How does your science explain that?
There's a place in KZN, and they believe that through the magic, the black magic, you call it black magic, they call it witchcraft, others, that you are able to send a lightning to strike someone. So can you explain that scientifically? Because it is something that happens
This is the problem with postmodernism, right? I swear to God, this is the main problem, right? Is that it treats subjective experience as if it has objective value. So these people might truly believe that they're casting spells. They might truly believe that they're getting together, and because of the way they feel when they're doing their seances or whatever it is they do, they feel like they're casting a spell. And then when a coincidence happens, Donald Trump, like something happens, they go, aha, that's our spell at work right there. And that is truth to Vox.com. So now we are back to acting as if spells and magic are real. Vox.com know that they're not, but they're going to entertain it as if they are, because bourgeois pretentiousness, I guess. But there's no doubting where this has come from. Nearly all resistance witches share a passion for the collective aspect of their practice, allowing them to channel feelings of powerlessness about the current administration while reviving a sense of community and ritual that many report missing from their daily experience. So these are people who in a previous life would have been staunch Christians, and they would have been praying to God to relieve their feelings of powerless of what I suppose is a manifestation of Trump derangement syndrome. Doucette signed up for classes on the online School of Witchery, accredited I'm sure, but never cast a spell before she saw fellow interested witches post about the binding spell online. Sounds about right. How will you know you have successfully cast the spell? Just out of interest. What kind of empirical results are you looking for out of casting the spell, or are you just going to assume it worked and carry on with your daily lives? Casting spells as a form of political protest might sound strange, but that, said Michelle M. Hughes, one of the originators of the spell, is precisely the point. Sounds like bullshit. Why are you entertaining this, Vox? These people are stupid and childish and need to be laughed at, not mollycoddled and encouraged to believe that maybe they are actually casting spells. Like, this is such obvious nonsense. casting spells as a form of political protest might sound strange, but that said, Michelle M. Hughes, one of the originators of the spell, says is precisely the point. No, it sounds like bullshit, and it sounds like Michelle M. Hughes is taking advantage of credulous idiots who should not be encouraged just because they are upset about Donald Trump becoming the president. Of course, come October 2018, the witches from Brooklyn were planning a public hex on Brett Kavanaugh, and it only cost $10 a ticket. Honestly, it's so obvious to anyone outside of this culture that this is the most obvious and transparently middle-class performance piece art school bullshit that I've ever seen, and is absolutely fucking meaningless beyond the idea of a bunch of people getting together just to cast hate at Donald Trump. Throw those 2 minutes of hate and give those witches some money, because hell, it made you feel good, didn't it? Ooh, maybe there is magic. Who knows? Who knows? No, we know. It's not magic. It's not going to do anything. I just want to point out to the Women for Trump founder that just because the witches say that they're putting a hex on Brett Kavanaugh or Donald Trump, there is no danger to Brett Kavanaugh because of this. This is a coping mechanism for psychotic single women who can't find a man and feel desperately alone and powerless in the world. This is nothing to do with magic or witchcraft or God or Christianity, and it won't affect a damn thing.
A restaurant, Maxine Waters, telling people that if you run across any of these Republican congressmen or senators or people in the administration, to harass them, get in their faces at gas stations, and people are doing that. I mean, look, we had a congressman, an attempted assassination on a congressman on a baseball field, and that shooter had a list in his pocket of other Republicans that he was going to go after. It is a scary time right now. Sarah Sanders has been run out of restaurants. I mean, there's a list of things going on. Now you've got witches that are placing a hex on Brett Kavanaugh. You've got the Republican Party in New York City being vandalized. So it is concerning. This type of behavior is going on, and it's concerning to all Americans out there. And as I said to you in the last segment, I have been a victim of these attacks as well. And it's not anything that any of us should have to live with, Ollie.
She's right about absolutely everything but the hexing. They are free to hex as much as they like, my love. It's not going to change a thing. But everything else she said there, verifiably true. But I think that it maybe degrades the message somewhat when you include witches casting hexes amongst the actual real-life violence and intimidation that the left has been instigating. And I think they have been instigating this because I think that basically they think they have all the answers, and anyone who disagrees isn't disagreeing in good faith. They are a bad person. And so they must be treated as such. And I think that the fact that so many people just don't agree that it's only bad people that disagree with them. But needless to say, the Christians rallied, counter-protested the witches' public hex against Donald Trump and Brett Kavanaugh, and lo and behold, Brett Kavanaugh won the Supreme Court nomination. It's a fucking miracle! Only about 60 of the 1,300 people who planned to attend showed up at the public hexing, so that wasn't exactly the most impressive thing, and a bunch of Catholics and Christians went along as well. Not that, well, can you call Catholics Christian? We're praying against the hexes, one believer said. Well, solidarity, brother or sister. It worked. The hexes failed. The witches are driven back to their cauldrons. Catalan Books, which was a store that organised the hexing, streamed it online, describing it as an act of resistance and resilience against democracy. So after Kavanaugh won his nomination, Catalan Books said that they had experienced a pretty severe amount of backlash in the form of hate mail and death threats due to the ritual. They insisted that previous hexes placed on Trump had been proven to be successful, stating, "We feel the rituals were a success as they sought to expose Trump for what he is. That has happened on many levels." That wasn't the point. The point was to specifically withhold and restrain his influence and power, and you seem to have failed since Brett Kavanaugh won the nomination to the Supreme Court. So why are you changing the story now? Why move the goalposts? Just say, well, okay, this time it didn't work, but it's not 100% success rate. Last time it worked great. This time didn't. Next time we're going to work on it even harder. It was down to us. We did something wrong there. We can change. Instead of saying, actually, no, everything was exactly as we wanted it to be. We actually kind of wanted Brett Kavanaugh as the Supreme Court Justice. This went exactly as we planned. Because, you see, witchcraft is a tool of the oppressed. It's always been practiced by the most downtrodden, disenfranchised, and oppressed peoples. Not individuals, not witches, peoples, cultures, who have used it as a tool for survival, to be the arbiter of their own justice, since it would be denied by the powers that be. I don't even know how one would classify any of that as justice. It sounds a lot like revenge to me. Thankfully, Father Gary Thomas, a Roman Catholic exorcist for the Diocese of San Jose, California, said in an article for the National Catholic Register, distributist, I'm looking at you here. This is your lot. Said that the priests have offered prayers for Kavanaugh in response to the hex, warning that witchcraft is a serious threat. I'm appalled, Thomas said about the hex. How dare they hex our president? I sent this to loads of exorcists yesterday and their reaction was similar to mine. I can't believe how many exorcists there are. That shows that this is not something that is make-believe. Well, case closed. Witches BTFO'd with facts and logic. But anyway, back in some celebrity called Lana Del Rey had hexed Donald Trump, and she said, look, I do a lot of shit, because she at least accepted that her hexes just failed. They just didn't work this time. So she apparently tweeted out her hex in the form of some sort of cryptic puzzle. I don't know how magic works, apparently through Twitter. And now months later, though, when President Trump's still president for worse or worse, of course, Australian outlet NME asked Del Rey whether she did actually cast that spell on Trump. Well, come on, said Australian NME. Well, I mean, you say you cast a spell, Lana Del Rey, but Trump's still president. Are you even sure you cast that spell? Are you in fact telling Porky's Lana Del Rey about casting that spell? Where are the results? Yeah, I did it, she replied. Why not? Look, I do a lot of shit. No, it's not they didn't want you to cast the spell. It's that they want some results. It sounds like you miscast the spell to me, assuming you even bothered, you lazy sloot. You're never gonna beat Christian spiritual power if you don't even put in the effort.
Really disgraceful. I mean, thousands of people were executed in Europe on suspicion of witchcraft.
But the end of October 18 rolled around and they didn't know what else to do, so it's like, well, join the resistance witches and hexing the Trump administration again. This Halloween season and beyond. Why not? We've been doing it for 2 years. It doesn't seem to have had any measurable effect, but it made us feel a lot better, and it got a lot of cult leaders laid. Because without witchcraft, how are we taking down the patriarchy? I mean, Donald Trump, Gamergate himself, is in the White House, and he's doing things, and we can't have that. Smash the patriarchy, one presidency at a time. About a month ago, The Sun newspaper did an interview with the American witch who cast a hex on Donald Trump, who claims she's 300 years old and reveals her spell for finding love. Amanda Yates, head of a coven in Los Angeles, leads rituals at lavish locations across the city, including the Museum of Contemporary Art. Wow, it's almost like this is some bullshit college student performance piece. Known as the Oracle of Los Angeles, yeah? Did she predict Trump or Hillary? She charges as much as $100 an hour for her sessions, including chakra balancing and grounding sessions, which aim to relieve stress. She has garnered a huge following of her fellow witches and celebs alike. Look, there are no witches, there is no magic, no one's casting spells, no one is an oracle, okay? Please stop framing this as if this is real, as if this is true, and as if this has demonstrable results, because it doesn't. In fact, we can see it doesn't, because on reflecting on her love spell, she still sounds amazed at its success rate, revealing that it helped her find a husband whom she has now divorced. That sounds like a failure to me. That doesn't sound like a success. It sounds that if you give me a love potion, which ends with me getting divorced, I don't think it worked. Speaking to the Times, she's actually 35 years old, so now she's well into cat territory. She says she would never do a spell to harm someone. She's not going to call the lightning with the shaman. But the power can be used to intervene in difficult situations. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that she's got a solid, safe, sound moral compass, but the power can be used to intervene in difficult situations, which is good. I mean, it's good to know that she wouldn't use her powers for ill. In a bid to remove Trump from office and stop him doing such horrible, harmful things, she found a horrific photo of Trump. She then recited a ritual and set fire to the snap with an orange candle. Look, this is dumb. Really dumb. Why are people entertaining it? Well, I can tell you why. Because it's attention-seeking middle-class women who are going to basically put on a giant performance piece before they realise that they're going to have to invest in cat food.
There's a lot to be offended by Donald Trump, and I think his use of the term witch hunt is very low on that list of priorities for most witches, but nevertheless.
I'm not a witch.
The entire thing has been a witch hunt.